Hey, whiskey lovers. Welcome to Whiskey Madness. My name is Cliff, and this is my madness. And today I've got a single barrel bourbon competition for you. We're going to pick four, put them head to head as we always do, and see who comes out on top. So let's dig right in. First on our list today is Wild Turkey. This one is the Kentucky Spirit Single Barrel. It is 50.5% ABV at 101 proof. And number two today is Henry McKenna 10-year. This is bottled in bond, so it's at 100 proof. And I think this is going to be a strong contender. One of my favorites. Third on the list is Evan Williams Single Barrel. This one is 43.3% or 86.6 proof. And last but not least, so many people's favorite, and we'll see how it holds up. This is Blanton's. It comes in, it's also obviously a single barrel. 93 proof in this bottling. This one actually was dumped on 9/16/25. So I have about 6 or 8 bottles of Blanton's here, and they date back probably to 2019, and haven't opened all of them. This one I have opened, so should be interesting. We'll see how it goes. So now that we have our lineup, let's talk a little bit about seating. In this case, I've only got one of these bottles open. I've never had this one. I have never had this one. So I'm going to make this a little bit simple. I'm just going to go with a number 1 seed for Blanton's. I'm going to say a number 2 seed for the Henry McKenna. I am going to put the Evan Williams against the McKenna and the Wild Turkey against Blanton's. So we've got a 1, 2, a 3, and a 4 seed. Should be pretty interesting. So let's start with our 2, 3 seeding. Let's bring in a couple of glasses. We will open these bottles and see how this thing plays out. Ooh. I can already smell it. Haven't even pulled the cork out yet. Very nice. Give me a little pour in here. All right, now on to the Henry McKenna 10-year. This one is, uh-oh, it broke. Just twist it off. There we go. When I first came across this Henry McKenna, gosh, it must be at least 4 or 5 years ago, somewhere in that range. We'll cut that off later. Somewhere in that range. It was just at one of my favorite restaurants, and our bartender that was there that night just said, "Hey, have you tried this?" And at that point, it was new to me, so I was like, "Heck yeah, give me a try." And we had a taste and fell in love with it. Didn't really find it on the shelf anywhere. Didn't really look for it for quite a while. But once I did, had to have some. It's a great bottle. Looking forward to see how it matches up against the Evan Williams single barrel. So today, let's dig in with some color comparison. And the McKenna is a little bit richer, a little bit deeper, looking in terms of color, a little bit darker. Again, color doesn't impact the flavor too much, but it does impact, how you feel about it. And my personal preference is I just get a little bit warmer, more excited about a darker whiskey, whether it be a bourbon or a scotch. And then the other thing I like to do is kind of just compare, how it rolls back down the glass, how those legs appear, how quickly, how thick they are. And here we've definitely got legs going down the Evan Williams, but they're a little thinner, a little quicker, and these are definitely a little slower to make it back down the edge of the glass. That, to me, that typically means, the thicker they are and the slower they are, the more it feels like it coats your palate and coats your tongue. And I enjoy that. But it's just something that, as I taste or drink a bourbon, I just kind of want to have that experience. Now let's hop into the nose. So the Evan Williams on the nose is a little alcohol prominent, but not much. It's sweet. It's lightly fruity. Very mild but pleasant. I like that nose. I like it a lot. Certainly not overwhelming, even though as soon as I cracked the wax on it, I could smell it. The McKenna is a little more, slightly more alcohol on the nose, and not really as sweet smelling, not really as fruity or prominent. It's just a little less there. Which is interesting. I think I expected more off the nose. I'd definitely at this point give the Evan Williams the nod on the nose. So with that said, let's dive in and see how these things taste. First, the Evan Williams. Very nice. Wow, that's really good. All right, I'm going to take another sip and then we're going to talk about it. That is really exceptional. My first thought when I put that on the palate is it's really sweet. It's definitely mixing that sweetness with an alcohol, not really a burn so much. I mean, although it is a tiny bit warm, it's just more of an alcohol flavor. And inside, I'm getting definitely notes of honey, of vanilla, just kind of like a red apple kind of sweetness. Not anything overly powering with vanilla, although vanilla is certainly there. It's not particularly woody to me, or oaky, which, I kind of can go either way on that. I like both expressions, kind of an earthy, oaky bourbon, as well as one that's just a little sweeter and not so much. This one, I didn't know what to expect, so this is pretty cool. Very nice. I'm gonna cleanse the palate real quick, and we're gonna dive into the McKenna. Yeah, good stuff. I'm still feeling that warmth, the kind of the lingering finish, which is fantastic. So here goes the McKenna. Not much different on the nose than I talked about before. Let's hit the palate. Okay. Certainly different. Not as sweet, not as sweet forward on the front end. The palate is coated a little more, as I suspected, with the legs being a little thicker and slower down the glass, as I mentioned. About the same amount of warmth and burn, if you will. Neither one's really overwhelming in that regard, but I like a little bit of, hey, reach out and grab you kind of warmth to it. This has it. It's on the swallow and the finish. It is quite nice, actually. It's soothing. It just kind of caresses. Got a little bit more in here, and I'm going to take this, think about it one more time, and then I'm going to try to pick a winner. This one's going to be hard. So, if I wish I knew how long this was aged. This one's a 10-year, as it says on the label, pretty clearly. This is 8 years old. It says it plain here, bottled on this in April 17, barreled on April 17 of 2017, and bottled almost exactly 1 day from 8 years in the barrel. So a little bit younger, but very strong, very, very strong competition here. These, I really didn't know what to expect. Like I said, when I started, I've had this one, hadn't had this one. I loved this one, thought it was going to be tough. I did not expect this guy to win. But we have a winner. Evan Williams moves on to round 2. All right, another palate cleanse, and we will dive in. On the other side of our bracket. All right, Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit Single Barrel. 50.5 proof. I'm sorry, 101 proof, 50.5 ABV. This one was bottled in April of 2020. Doesn't tell me how old exactly, but I would imagine it's somewhere between 8 and 10 years old. All right, let's get some in the glass. And there's our number 4 against our number 1 seed, Blanton Single Barrel. And let's compare on color. Wow, that is almost identical. In fact, there would be no way to tell which bottle this came out of if I didn't pour it and just pick it up as I poured it. They look identical. So the legs, wow, both are pretty slow to make it down the cup. So far, I'm not sure I can really tell a difference between the two. Let's go to the nose. Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit is has a little bit more of a floral nose to it than either of the others. Not a super strong nose. Not a lot of alcohol prominence showing up in the nose. Blanton's, again, kind of the same. Not a lot of alcohol on the nose. And I would say this one is a little more floral and fruity mixed. Probably from a nose perspective, somewhere between the Evan Williams being super sweet and fruity on the nose to this one being very floral. This is kind of a mix and lands somewhere in the middle. Both are nice, absolutely inviting, nothing off-putting about either one. All right, so let's go with our number 4 seed and see how we do on the palate, since that's pretty much where these competitions are, what they're all about. Wow, stop the presses. My goodness. Baby, that is a single barrel. That is... I would like to be on the selection committee picking the single barrels on this trip. That is so good. I've never really thought of myself as a Wild Turkey fan, so to speak. I mean, they've got some decent product out there for what people call value bourbons. The Wild Turkey 101 is among the best. And they've got a wide swath of products, clearly. It's just not ever really been one of the brands that I've gravitated towards for some reason. This may change my perspective. That is so good. I've saved a little bit, as I usually do, in these competitions, and I just definitely want to hit this again, and then I'm going to try to describe, what it's doing on the palate. Okay, this is 101 proof. There is virtually no burn with this. This is what your wife, your girlfriend, or whatever would call smooth. There's a little bit at the very end of the palate and beginning of the swallow. It's a little bit of a warmth there, but this is gentle. It is nice. It is definitely something that a new bourbon experimenter might find to be the catalyst of their own madness. This is something that's very approachable. It's very drinkable. I honestly think, I mean, I would like to try it over an ice cube to be certain about this, but I think the neat pour is clearly going to be exceptional. The ice cube and that little bit of water that you get from the melting of the ice cube and the chilling of the bourbon, I think is really going to make this kind of feel like a dessert. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. So I'm going to cleanse the palate. We're going to dive into the Blantons, and we'll see how that goes. All right. Let's do this, folks. I don't even need to finish it. I like Blantons. I'm not one of the Blanton's haters that you find out on YouTube all over the place that say it's just overrated and never pay the price and blah, blah, blah. I buy every bottle of Blanton's that I can find. Fortunately for me, I'm not finding Blanton's at my local store at twice the MSRP. I do try to travel to Kentucky, and I go to Buffalo Trace every chance I get. And inevitably, if I'm there a day or two or sometimes three, I'll go every day. And they only bring out their premier, whatever, I don't even know what you would call it, their allocated bottles. They only bring out one per day. So if Blanton's is up, I buy it, period, because I'm getting it at MSRP and I'm not really having to pay. So that's why I have 6 or 8 bottles. I'm never going to pay, $150 or $120 for this bottle. It's just not going to happen. Because I know I go to Kentucky and I can get it for, 60, whatever. And that's just a fact. But I'm never not going to buy this bottle. I'm just not. It's a very good bourbon. It's not the best bourbon out there. And today it's not even going to win. I don't even have to finish that. This Wild Turkey is better, period. End of story. It's just better. I am going to drink this last sip because I do like it. But there is no question this is the winner of this bracket today. So let me go ahead and get this down, and then we'll move on to our championship round. Nothing wrong with Blanton's. Absolutely nothing wrong with Blanton's. But today, Wild Turkey takes it. And would I put Blanton's over Henry McKenna? I don't know. Someday we'll do head-to-head on just these two, and we'll figure that part out. But today, to get to our number one, we've got Evan Williams, single barrel vintage at 86.6 proof, going against Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit single barrel. All of these are single barrels. And this one is at 101. So give me a little palate cleanse, get that Blanton's out of my mouth. And we will dig right in. I love a little cork pop. That always makes me happy. There is our Wild Turkey, our number 4 seed, going against our number 3 seed, Evan Williams. Probably need to tilt my glass or I'm going to spill. So in terms of color, man, that's pretty close. I think the Wild Turkey is just a little bit darker, a half a shade difference. And on the legs, wow. Again, about the same there as well. That's interesting. So let's go right into the nose. And this typically we start with the lower seed. So our number 3 seed, Evan Williams. Oh, that would mean this one is the lower seed. Sorry. Number 4 seed, Kentucky Spirit single barrel from Wild Turkey. That is just, that's really nice. You know, if I were blindfolded right now, I'm not sure I could really tell much of a difference. That's probably not the best thing to say if you've got a whiskey channel and you're supposed to be some kind of whatever, quote, expert. I never claim to be that. I claim to be a lover, a whiskey lover, not a whiskey expert. Okay, got it. This one is fruitier. It's sweeter and fruitier, but they are very close. They really are close. It's almost indistinguishable, but after I don't know how many times I've gone to the glass with my nose, like 6 now, I think at that point you can tell the difference, but it is so close, it's almost indistinguishable. So let's get to the palate and see how that plays out. Exactly like in round 1. It's sweet. It is balanced. It's not overpowering sweet. It's not like you just kind of want to like sip it slow. And I mean, this is almost like a normal straight pour. I would go through this too quickly. And I think it's rich enough and full enough that it would hold up well on a cube. It's probably not spicy enough to really be what you would want in an old fashioned or in another cocktail. To me, this is definitely a neat pour bourbon and probably okay with a cube. Definitely dessert though. So quick palate cleanse, and we will be on to our Kentucky Spirit. Got high hopes for this guy. Okay, just on the first sip, and I'm definitely going to finish this before we decide, but on the first sip, the distinguishing difference here is a little more desserty, a little more traditional bourbon profile, a little more earthy, definitely a little more oaky. It's got some sweetness in it, the vanilla, the caramel, all of those traditional flavors that you're looking for. Very well balanced. Not a super long finish on either. This is really this is really kind of surprising me how this is all coming out. And it's not like I had any preconception here. Really, I had never had either one of these before. Both of the other two I had many times, but I kind of had an expectation lower of the Wild Turkey. The Evan Williams, I think we've had Evan Williams on another episode. I think the Bottled in Bond, and I've certainly drank a good portion of that bottle. But this single barrel is kind of like surpassing my expectations. This one surpassing my expectations. So now I have to get to a decision on these two, and this is always the hardest part of this little game we play. It truly is. I mean, it's very seldom that I have found like an immediate winner. I think that honestly, if I did this once every month for the next 3 months, I might not pick the same one every time. But today, have you figured it out yet, which one I'm going toward? Boom! We're going to Evan Williams. This single barrel has surprised me. It has impressed me. And I guarantee you, I'm going to be looking for this very soon again on my shelf. I got this at the distillery. But I'm going to be looking very soon for a replacement of this bottle because it isn't going to last very long. That is fantastic. Find it, put it on your shelf, make it happen because you will not be disappointed. Holy moly. I didn't expect this. This was, the number 3 seed today? Knocked off some big players, big names in the industry, but boom, winner. Evan Williams Single Barrel Vintage, 86.6 proof. There you go. Congratulations. We will see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We love you. We appreciate you. God bless.